It's finally here! Sonic the Hedgehog is back in action, along with his rival, Shadow the Hedgehog. Sonic X Shadow Generations is finally here, and I'm here to give my thoughts. You guys see the thumbnail, and plenty of other news on this game. Admittedly, I haven't posted any news on this game, because I'll be honest, I didn't know what to say. It was too much to take in my head. So many green flags, a few red flags, yada yada yada. Believe it or not, this is the first Sonic game I got earlier before its release. I got the game on October 24th rather than the 25th. I was able to get 10 hours total with both games with my first playthrough on them. And let me just say, this game is outstanding! The best re-release we had for Sonic and one of the best games in the series. A massive shock for the series as well, as it is the very first 3D Sonic game in the modern age to get an 80% from Metacritic and 9 out of 10 from IGN. There's indeed a very clear reason for that, and to see that, let's take a massive look at the package and see if it's worth $50. It's all my opinions, and it's okay to disagree with mine. With that being said, sit back and enjoy the show. Let's start with Sonic Generations, the one we're all familiar with. The story is the same as it was, but with new dialogue. While nothing great, it's better than the old dialogue, in my opinion at least. Because of that, I find it more tolerable and less annoying than it was in 2011. Not by much, but enough to the point where I mention it. That being said, the lack of an identity is still an issue with this game because of that. The gameplay is just your typical Sonic Generations, but since the HD version of this game hasn't got its own scripted video, I thought we'd give it its own section in this review. We all know this game has two different gameplay styles, Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic. Classic Sonic is your typical 2D Sonic gameplay with an overpowered spin dash. It's simple fun, and the movements themselves feel very nice. Is it accurate to his days on the Genesis? No, not at all, but he's still very fun to play as. Modern Sonic is where the game shines best. The boost gameplay has always been a treat for fellow players like me, with the exception of Sonic Forces and Frontier Cyberspace. In this game, it's all reaction-based level design with some alternate routes, along with some 2D and 3D platforming to boot. It's kind of like the gameplay style of Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Colors, the challenging reaction-focused aspect of Unleashed, and the heavily focused platforming aspect of Colors. Both styles of the boost formula are really satisfying in my opinion, so I think this was a great way to handle it. However, the alternate pathways in this stage go further than even it needs to. You have Green Hill Modern smashing the bridge, Crisis City for higher platforming routes, and Seaside Hill with the card section on top. It's all great stuff. Unfortunately, the ranking system of Sonic Generations is still an issue to me. It's way too easy, and it just causes so many S ranks being gotten on my first try, when it really shouldn't be like that. I don't know why Sonic Team can't make a challenging ranking system, but they really need to start trying. Another issue I take with Sonic Generations is its ending portion of the game, but we'll get to that later. For now, let's talk about the levels with short summaries. Green Hill is here again, but it's still fun, and gets your expectations up for the rest of the levels in this game. Chemical Plant is more clever with its pathways, and because of that I can appreciate it more, but ultimately it's around the same as Green Hill, because the 2D sections are quite a bit here. While the sections themselves are good, they can run the majority of this level. Now, I don't hate 2D sections mixed with 3D sections at all, but we already have a gameplay style focused on 2D, so it could get repetitive here. It's still a great stage, just with a minor problem. Sky Sanctuary is the best out of the classic era. The platforming is some of the best in the game, and the skips you can do here are just incredible. Speed Highway, while not as good as the Adventure 1 counterpart, or most of the other levels in this game, it's still well designed. One of the weaker levels here, but I do enjoy the variety of stage that this has, much like the others. City Escape, on the other hand, is my favorite level in the game. It's absolutely an amazing level with diverse set pieces which look great even to this day, and you have to work to get those set pieces to look even better. Incredible level. Seaside Hill is also a fantastic stage, and far more open than City Escape, but it's in second place compared to that level because City Escape is more exciting and intense. Still great. Crisis City is pretty cool. It has all the positives as the previous levels, and they all go great with the area that it's in. The red rings are also very interesting to find. Rooftop Run is amazing as always, though slightly lesser compared to Unleashed since it has different focus. Sadly, Planet Wisp sucks. The 3D sections are great, but the 2D sections are just not fine-tuned. The Wisps are also lame. Also, stop saying skill issues because this level ain't hard, just unfun. Great level roster overall though. The bosses are also great. They all have nice pacing, the impressive improvements to their original counterparts, and overall, it's just a blast. The final boss though? Nah, he sucks, and they couldn't even fix the dialogue spam in the remaster. Speaking of the remaster, let's discuss what's different in Sonic Generations now that it's 2024 and not 2011. The models have minor tweaks, there's new control options, new drop dash, which is kinda useless but still nice, new Chow to save, new skins for modern and classic Sonic, as well as one for Shadow, life system is optional, and more detailed graphics while also keeping it faithful to the original. All of these are great stuff. My only problem is the lag that you can get from time to time, though I must specify I'm using Steam to play this game. But it's only a minor inconvenience. Overall though, a very good remaster, and the best we've had. Trust me, this is only the half of the package. The first half. This is it. The new stuff that we are looking for. This was the new Shadow game/campaign. This must be said now. There's spoilers up ahead, so if you wish to not be spoiled, click off the video immediately. Okay? Good. The story starts off with Shadow on Space Colony Ark after Dark Beginnings. He finds something that looks off in the colony. He chases after it and finds Black Doom. After this, he finds the fake Chaos Emerald from SA2. The Time Eater then comes and drags everyone in, including Shadow. He then meets a lot of people from his history, like Maria, Gerald, Rouge, and a few others. Black Doom, after all of this, is still trying to make Shadow his weapon, and while Shadow is nearly confronted by darkness, Maria covers him and tells him why he was named Shadow in the first place. It's very interesting stuff. During all of this, he meets his villains from the past, like the Bio Lizard, Metal Overlord, and even Mephiles. Seriously, do you want to know how excited I was when I first saw him? Jeez. He even meets Sonic and tricks him with a fake Chaos Emerald. After that, yet again, Black Doom infects the entire space, and Shadow must stop him. He tells Maria not to worry about this mess, and tells her that her wish is in her heart. Just wow. This is truly beautiful. Shadow defeats Devil Doom once again and says goodbye to Maria and Professor Gerald one last time. The story is great, but not my favorite. Kinda in the middle ground of good stories compared to some other stories, but I do love the dialogue in this game and the voice acting. Seriously, Shadow, Rouge, Black Doom, Maria, and Gerald have never sounded better than they did here. Kinda like how Sonic and his friends sounded best in Sonic Frontiers. It honestly gives this game a much bigger identity compared to Sonic Generations. Now then, let's move on to gameplay. Now, a lot of people were very skeptical about this game. There's no surprise there. This is a game after Forces and Frontiers after all, both of which did not handle the boost formula very well. Because of that, people thought the level design was going to be lame and painful to control. However, I can confirm that those concerns for Shadow Generations are not problems with this game. The controls are amazing. They are so smooth, the turning and movements are just top notch, and the stiffness from Sonic Generations are almost completely gone here, as well as the jankiness from Frontiers. It's truly perfect for boosting gameplay, and is by far the best controls for a boosting game. It certainly embarrasses Frontiers cyberspace, and makes me dislike it even more. Speaking of Frontiers, this game takes what makes Frontiers core gameplay fun, and makes it even better. The design of the hub worlds are so well confined, and there's quite a bit to find here even though it's not as big. It's not like quantity mattered over quality anyways. You can find chests with tokens that you can find throughout the stages, you can find challenges around here, you can find balloons from pieces of Gerald's journal, and probably more that I haven't even mentioned or found. Instead of memory tokens, there's parts to look for. There's 80 of them total that you have to give to Orbot and Cubot in order to finish their rocket. Because of them being more spread out, they take a longer time to look for compared to the memory tokens for Frontiers. However, I don't mind having a longer time looking for items because this hub world, in my opinion, is a load of fun. This is what makes this game stand out compared to Sonic Generations, because that game's hub worlds are just there. Now, when it comes to interacting with the environment, we should go over the new abilities that Shadow has. The one that players are all familiar with as soon as they start the game is Chaos Control. This ability is outstanding. It's able to pause everything in the level/hub, while also stopping time completely. This is helpful because it allows you to get the challenges in this game a lot easier with clever use. That being said, it needs to be used wisely because it lasts for only 5 seconds, so it doesn't become broken, which is why I love it even more. Chaos Control can also be used as this game's Lightspeed Dash, because while that ability is absent in Shadow Generations, what Chaos Control can do near green orbs is do the same ability that the Lightspeed Dash is able to do. It's great stuff. There's also plenty of clever uses with Chaos Control in terms of traversing the area, like this section in Kingdom Valley Act 2 and this spike enemy area in the hub world. Trust me, those aren't the only times. The abilities that also got marketed insanely were the Doom powers. Let's discuss them briefly. Doom Spear is basically a Chaos Spear that can hit multiple targets while stunning them. It's very useful for a lot of things like ring balloons, for example. Doom Blast helps you throw the Black Arm aliens. It's very nice for skips. Doom Surf basically helps you get through the water easily. It's very nice to flow through with. Doom Morph makes Shadow turned into this weird alien some sort. While weird as hell, it's cool for alternate paths. Doom Wing actually gets shown earlier in the game, but we don't fully unlock it until early on. It helps you fly while also giving you invincibility. It's useful for skips and alternate routes. Overall, the Doom powers were a great addition. While they do take a while to get used to, the levels in hub worlds are designed with them in mind. Speaking of the levels, let's take a look at all of that. The level design is honestly some of the best in the entire series. Seriously. The reaction-based level design is here, as you do have to react quickly to make shortcuts and certain actions with the Doom powers. There's loads of obstacles in your way, so you have to do something somewhat challenging there. Just like you would with Unleashed and Generations. There's also a lot of platforming here, but much like Unleashed, the platforming doesn't slow down the pacing of the level design. There are so many ways to speed through the platforming, it's basically all up to the player. Speaking of choices, there is an extraordinary amount of pathways you can find here. Some of them leave collectibles, but a lot of them are completely different / quicker ways to experience and complete the stage. This is the best way to structure level design for a boosting game, and honestly, some of the best ways to game structuring in the whole series. Every single level in this game is honest to god near perfection, even some of the less good ones. There's no stinker endgame like Sonic Generations, which is yet another thing that this game gets right compared to that. Another thing that this game gets right here is the level length. Every single level feels just about right. There are some shorter than others, but if you are worried about a level being too long or too short, don't fret. This is also why Unleashed ranks highly among many Sonic games. You would have to work a crap ton to get a short runtime, which is something I can appreciate. The only complaints I have here is that there aren't as many level areas as I like, and the ranking system still needs a lot of work. Now, to give credit where credit is due, some S ranks do take a little bit to get, while others don't. It's kinda like a Sonic Frontiers situation, only slightly better considering Frontiers only having one hard S rank instead of a few. But unlike Sonic Generations, there aren't that many small issues that build up in the game. Hell, I'd say this game is less flawed than a game like Unleashed, a game that I thought was still slightly better in my opinion. Now, the acts are structured similarly to Sonic Generations, only this time, the entirety of Act 1 is 3D, and the entirety of Act 2 is 2D, with the exception of Radical Highway. Now, the balancing of 2D and 3D isn't an issue anymore. This game is just getting so much right. But now let's go over the levels themselves. Starting with Space Colony Arc, this is a fantastic first stage and gets you familiar with Shadow's controls and interactivity with the environment. It's still a replayable level in spite of that due to clever routes, so it's still an awesome level. Rail Canyon is my least favorite due to the rails being too focused like it was in Heroes, but it's still a great stage due to the variety of pathways there still are. I just wish there was a little bit more platforming. That's it. Kingdom Valley though? Holy god, this might be my favorite. The amount of pathways you can find here, along with the incredibly diverse set pieces like there was with Modern City Escape, and the Mach Speed section recreated at the end is just the icing on the cake. The water sections are also pretty sweet. Honestly, an incredible improvement to the 06 stage, and just an amazing level. Sunset Heights is also a contender because this is way better how it was in Forces. The pathways are very clever with the platforming, and the cinematics are honestly some of the best in the game. It's not quite the best level, but it's still great, and definitely close. Chaos Island, while a weird pig, I thought it was really enjoyable. The Doom Morph does take a bit to get used to, but once you do, the alternate routes in this level can be a real treat. It's the definition of neat. Last, but certainly not least, Radical Highway. This one is honestly tied with Kingdom Valley. It's absolutely a masterpiece of a level, as the pathways are some of the most encouraging throughout the entirety of the game. It's also a level where both of the acts are 3D, so bonus points for that. Admittedly, all of these levels were phenomenal though. It's crazy how skeptical we were, and now here we are. After 10 months of waiting, we got a Sonic game with one of the most consistent level rosters in the whole series, even though it's not original. More on that later. The boss fights are a blast as well, and overall more fun compared to most games. A short summary of them: BioLizard 4th place. Still good and very cinematic, but the others are more impressive. Devil Doom is 3rd place. A great final boss and much better than the Time Eater, but just not quite the peak of this game. 2nd place is Metal Overlord, because this boss fight is just epic. While it's nothing at all like the original, I love it because of that. It's very satisfying, but the last one is just a little bit more impactful. At least this one is a challenging S rank for once. Finally, in 1st place, we have Mephiles the Dark. This boss is simply a damn masterpiece. The flow of the fight is the best out of the 4, and the dialogue makes this fight stand out more. Since it revolves around the idea that this Mephiles is the very same one from the Lost Timeline from Sonic 06. Very deep. Alright, that's about everything. Oh wait, the visual presentation. The graphics look great. Definitely one of the best looking Sonic games we've had. The music for both Sonic and Shadow Generations are also great. Not my favorite, but I enjoy most of the remixes. Between the two, Shadow Generations has the better tracks, but only by a bit. But before we end the video, we have a special guest. Please welcome Simon!
Hello everyone, this is Simon from before editing, I guess, before he's edited the video. Literally, he's almost done editing the video, so it's probably going to be out probably by sometime this week or next week, I don't know. But I do want to say, since I asked him about, like, since I've already played Shadow Generations, I do want to give my opinion. The game is good. It's not bad, but it's good. It's not great, but it's good. That's all I have to really say. What my personal favorite thing about the game is it keeps bringing back probably the best moments of Shadow the Hedgehog. From what I've seen, bringing back Metal Overlord was probably one of my favorite things to see, and also BioLizard. but no, the big thing was definitely Black Doom, because we haven't seen him in like a whole decade. So, yeah, I really, Sega, you got your work cut out for this, and well, not in the bad way, of course, but I'm excited to see what you're gonna do for the movie DLC, which I did buy the DLC pack, or not the DLC pack. What the fuck? Uh, um, the deluxe edition. So Sega, don't let me down, please. I beg of you. Okay. See y'all later. Bye bye.
Well, that's pretty much it. Unlike Sonic Generations 3DS, I had a lot of fun with this game. Shadow Generations is easily one of the all-time best Sonic games we've had in the entire series. It's a game where I can have an awesome time with barely any issues in it. It's so goddamn good. Sonic Generations is also a great game, and the remaster job is actually well done for the most part. The only exception to that is the rewrite being disappointing, but that's literally it. That said, for all the praises I've listed, I honestly think Shadow Generations had the better idea on what an ideal Sonic game is for me, while having less issues to point out, even. That also said, no matter if the ranking system sucks or not, I still want them to keep trying. If there's one thing that they must do, it's to do what they didn't do back in 2013. Give us what we had in Shadow Generations, make it just a little bit longer, and most importantly, don't rely on nostalgia pandering. I believe it's about time that we move on from reusing old areas over and over, because I'm sure a lot of us are tired of it. This game is great as it is, along with the visuals, but all of it can be even greater if it was all original stuff. No, I don't mean the overly attracting environments from Lost World. I like Sonic Lost World, do not get me wrong, but the visual presentation in that game, to me, had a lot to be desired. That being said, I also want other original concepts for Sonic games other than just city levels. As much as a lot of people don't like Sonic Superstars, the environments in that game did show what I meant by that. I'm not saying modern Sonic games should have a classic art style, but something original and something that fits Sonic the Hedgehog in the modern state. But that's a discussion for another time. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to both me and Simon, but it's obviously up to you in that regard. This was an amazing package to uncover, and I'm glad I did. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.